In your current day-to-day life experience, including your psychology, your personality, your relationships, your challenges, your theme in life, the physical house that you might be living in at this moment, the fact that we're having this exchange here, all of that is your creation. You are the creator, and this is your creation. When you actually realize internally that your experience right now is the cutting edge of the creator, it's very difficult to be bored. It's very difficult to think small about yourself and about your life and about what's possible, and about how much money you have in your bank account and about how you can't do the things you think you want to do. And when you release all that, you realize I'm the cutting edge, I'm the tip of the spear of infinite existence. Hello friends, can you hear me? Welcome. Nice to see you. As you know, today will be entirely dedicated to whatever you say it is. And I see that the most upvoted question asks me to just shut up and be silent. I like that. Very good. By far the most votes. Excellent. Yeah, let's do it twice. Let's start with it. And then somewhere in the middle or near the end, we can have another moment of silence. So the question for those who aren't on Slido perhaps is, it's phrased a little friendlier than I said it, but it's essentially the same thing. At some point in this Q&A session, would you pause and be with us all in a silent bathing of God's loving intelligence? Much love. Thank you, Michael. Absolutely. Okay. Sabina asks, since I can remember, I have had a strong feeling that nothing matters, that everything is already done. Those feelings make me sad. Often I am very bored. Any advice? Since I can remember, I've had a strong feeling that nothing matters, that everything is already done. Those feelings make me sad. Often I am very bored. Any advice? First of all, your statement is very, very true. It's what people seek to truly know. But somehow it makes you sad, which is a very simple equation. It means that you have truth plus a delusion or a misinterpretation. And the misinterpretation makes you sad and makes you miss out on the bliss and the potential of that truth. So in words, what you're saying, in concept, you are correct. And this is akin to the enlightened state, where nothing matters and everything's already done. Because that equates to a timeless state. The timeless nature of all phenomena. The illusion, or one of them, is time. It is causality. It is linearity. It is that you are somewhere in space-time, somewhere in between the past and future occurrences. This is an illusion. So the truth is, in words at least, but words don't always set you free. The truth is that nothing matters, meaning nothing produces matter. And everything is already done. So that which does appear, which we tend to think of as matter, but it's not, that which appears, that which is seen, that which is known, all of that, all possibilities are already done. Everything that could ever possibly be, or appear to be, I should say, because nothing actually is, except for isness. Duh. Only isness is, by definition. So if it's not isness, it doesn't is, it is not. However, things appear to be. So everything that appears to be, everything we know, at least, from our limited point of view, is just a small fragment, one possibility of infinite. But even all these infinite possibilities that would excite the layman, that would excite the normal person, don't excite you because somehow you think or realize or see that everything is already done. And this is true from an absolute structural point of view. If you zoom out all the way, or almost all the way, then you could see that from a timeless vantage point, everything that could ever possibly appear to be already appears to be. In other words, less accurately but more understandably, everything that could ever possibly be already exists. The missing factor in that last statement is appears to be. Sounds more understandable if you say everything that can possibly exist already exists. It doesn't really exist, it appears to exist. But the core of the message is the same, which is that everything, every potential is already manifest or already appears to be manifest. It's just that you're not aware of it. One of the analogies I use in the book that I'm writing at the moment, and it's a little bit inspired by an example I once heard from Bashar, I believe, about understanding from a structural point of view, which means a timeless point of view, because the structure of realities is actually timeless. It is the delusions, the stories, the projections that produce time, but structurally speaking, this universe is timeless. So that means, if you picture, in short, it means every parallel reality, every possible reality exists, coexists parallel to one another, just like all the radio stations that are playing at once, or the TV channels. But you can zap to a different channel, you'll see a different broadcast, or you'll hear a different stream of songs, a different genre of music. Similarly with life, you can zap yourself to different frequencies, and you will have different perceptual experiences. Doesn't mean that when you switch from channel 1 to channel 8, that channel 1 ceases to exist. It just doesn't appear to you. Life is very much like that. It's all parallel frequencies. So whatever you are attuned to in that moment, whatever is the unique vibrational makeup of your whole vibration as a whole, as an entire formula, if you will, as an entire signature, the meta signature of your entire frequency in your current focal point of consciousness, will produce or will attune you to one particular or a combination of particulars that have always already existed, parallel to any other potential, infinite potentials. But now you're tuned to that, and now you're tuned to the next moment, and now you're tuned to the next manifestation. And so we have the appearance of linearity, we have the appearance of time, but really all you're doing is you're shifting laterally, parallel. So then the analogy is, imagine you're in this giant warehouse, an infinite warehouse. And in this infinite warehouse, it's a warehouse that's aware. It's a little cheesy, but it'll do the trick. So in this infinite warehouse, my dad would be proud of me right now. Picture that you have this infinite warehouse is filled with pictures, photographs, snapshots of reality, different configurations of space, time, objects, people, experiences. The things that you call experience, that you think of as, oh, this is now my reality. So imagine you have a snapshot of every universe, of every probability, of every picture that could ever possibly be, down to the smallest scale, all the way up to the biggest complete image of that entire universe. And all these versions coexist. All possibilities are all laid out in sort of a grid-like system, left to right, up to down, filling this infinite warehouse. This is the warehouse of creation, which exists inside of absolute reality. Because the structure of this warehouse is timeless, the actual structure, the actual nature of the illusion, in other words, of creation, since that is a formless, timeless structure, everything that can ever possibly be needs to already be, because it's timeless. If you have no time, you cannot create something first, and then something after that, and then something after that. That's an illusion. That's a story. That's a projection. Structurally speaking, mechanically speaking, if you will, the structure of this universe is timeless. Therefore, all things that could ever possibly be need to already be. So in this sense, your statement is very true. Nothing matters, nothing makes a difference to the structure of reality. And everything is already done. I wouldn't quite phrase it in that way, and this is where I hope to take your dullness or boredom into excitement. Instead of saying everything is already done, just say everything already exists. Every possibility already exists. That doesn't mean the journey is done, because there's two aspects to this creation. One is the structure of it, the props, the things that you'll experience. And it's a very intelligent, complex system of formless, intelligent sentience formulating the illusion of energy that then crystallizes further and further down into specific, seemingly solid structures and experiences. But essentially, it's all made of something even emptier than empty space that is yet intelligent. So, but there's two aspects to this whole game. One is what appears, and the other is the witness of what appears. The creator itself, aka the creator, and the creation, or the created. You are the creator. Step down a few notches to a more microcosmic level, you could say, within the fractal of creator and creation. And your current day-to-day life experience, including your psychology, your personality, your relationships, your challenges, your theme in life, the physical house that you might be living in at this moment, the fact that we're having this exchange here, all of that is your creation. You are the creator, and this is your creation. Now, from the point of view of creation, you're entirely accurate in stating that everything is already created. That means you could not ever go someplace, do something, combine two little toys or a piece of sand with a piece of rock, or set something on fire that's never been set on fire before and create something new. It's impossible. You will never create anything new. Impossible. Structurally impossible, because the universe is timeless, structurally speaking. So there is no way. If you can create something 100 years from now, it already exists right now. You're just not attuned to that frequency. So that's not what's relevantly showing up as your life stream, as your creation. However, what's not done, what is new, is you as the creator. Or rather, the symbiotic third element that is produced out of the meeting point of these two elements of creator and creation. And this is the whole purpose why creation even exists. It is so that the creator can meet itself in this seemingly externalized, materialized form. And it's in the interaction between the two that something new happens. Something that doesn't yet exist. We call it evolution. And I'm not talking about the physical evolution of the biological life form, although that is an expression, to some extent, of the spiritual evolution. But the basis, the basic directive for why creation is even here in the first place, is to give the creator a playground to learn and evolve, to learn about itself. So structurally, you are correct. Everything is already done. But relationally, between you as the creator, or the witness, you could say, but it's more than just, you're more than just a witness. You are free will. You are infinite potential. You are God a microcosmic variation. It's the relationship to the infinite playground that is new. Let's use the analogy of a video game. When you're playing a video game, you're buying something that already exists. So you boot up the game. That whole game world is already programmed. You will never be able to find anything in that playground, no matter what level you go to, no matter what edge of the map you go to, no matter what kind of a character you play. It does not matter. You cannot find anything within that video game that was not either programmed by intention or misprogrammed by mistake or negligence. But everything that could ever possibly be within that video game world already is contained within that video game. But that's not why you buy a video game. You buy a video game so that you can have a relational experience with the things that are already created. So that you can learn, that you can play, that you can have fun, that you can exchange, that you can get somewhere new, that you can up-level your character. That you can interact with other people and have a great time in that playground. So if you buy a new video game and you say, wait a second, I cannot create new parameters, it's already all created. I cannot create a new map, all the maps are already downloaded into the game. They're already determined by the programmer. Well, then the game is done. That makes no sense. Because you bought it in the first place to enjoy that world. And in our case, it's infinite possibilities, so you can't run out of things. So the only reason it would bore you is if you have a negative belief system about what it means. You have a wrong interpretation. Negative means wrong. You're wrong. Simple. When you feel bad, you're wrong about something. Very simple. Physics. You feel bad, you're wrong. And what do? We feel bad and we feel right. Got it all mixed up. I feel bad, therefore I'm right about this and this and this. No, you feel bad because you think these things, but you're dead wrong about these things. Boredom is on the spectrum of negativity, I would say. It's not extreme negativity, but it is in the realm of negativity. And so you're wrong about something. But you're not wrong about the fact that nothing matters. And you're not wrong about the fact that everything that can exist already exists. So what are you wrong about then? You somehow have an interpretation, I think, that this means that there's nothing new under the sun, that there's no real purpose or relevance. But this is not true. That's why you feel bad, or that's why you feel bored. What's new is how you relate to this moment. In this case, to hearing my voice. How do you relate to that? How do you wake up to that, or from that, or through that? What are you learning right now? Is that not brand spanking new? Because there's not a single moment that can be repeated when it comes to the relational aspect of creation between consciousness and form. Or as they would say in a lot of the Indian scriptures, Purusha, or the soul, or the consciousness, and Prakriti, or the nature of things, the manifest world. There's constant relationship happening. There's a constant connection point, meeting point. You're constantly meeting this illusion with the truth of your consciousness. And in that beautiful, mysterious, paradoxical meeting point, learning happens. The creator learns more about itself every single moment, even if you're bored. It's not the advisable way to live, long-term at least, but even from being bored, you're producing a new experience. You're producing a new lesson. This cannot be undone. This is why people produce video games, so that people can have experiences that they learn from and grow from and enjoy and so on. So relationally speaking, nothing is ever done. And this is the most cutting edge moment in the entire timeless history of the infinite creator. That's right. You sitting down on your couch in a tiny little house made of brick, stupidly square, most likely, because we know nothing about sacred geometry, on a piece of dirt that if you expand a little bit turns into a big, seemingly big, it's really very, very tiny rock of sorts that's floating in a much greater volume of plenum, ether, or erroneously thought of as empty space, which it's not, on a giant disk of particularized light. But you, sitting in your room right now listening to this, is the cutting edge of the creator. This is the newest thing. This is the latest Tesla update. Is you, right now, listening to my voice. And after this session, it's not just about that. After this session, whatever you're up to then, making a cup of coffee or going for a walk or going to bed, that's the most cutting edge moment ever in the entire history of timeless existence. Now, you cannot find a cup that doesn't exist yet, and you cannot have a taste of coffee that doesn't exist yet. You cannot create new things. But who cares? Because you've never met 99.99999% of infinite possibilities yet, so to you it's all new anyway. What's the point in saying, well, it all already exists? Yeah, but what have you explored, really? So even on the level of things, of the manifest prakriti, the nature of things, even there's infinite novelty for your point of view or your experience as a self. So why would that be boring? Just because everything already exists doesn't mean that you are done. It just means you have now an infinite playground with which you can do whatever you please, learn in whatever way you wish to learn, progress in whatever way you wish to progress, evolve, awaken, and so on. Love, share, communicate, teach, learn, all that. You're in a video game. You're in a simulation. Yes, the simulation already contains everything that could ever possibly be. Nothing new ever gets manifested. However, every single now experience is literally the most advanced, cutting-edge moment in the history of timeless existence. You are infinity at the edge of its seat. Now, and now, and now. It's hard to imagine when you feel like it's just another dull day in your tiny little house on this rock floating through space without apparent meaning. But as bored as you are, infinity is on its edge of its seat, witnessing your boredom. That's exciting to it. That's cutting edge. How bored can I possibly get about my own infinite possibilities? Wow! Wouldn't that be an interesting movie to watch? If you were the creator and you were infinite potential, wouldn't you want to watch what would it be like to be a bored little person within my own universe that thinks everything is already done? That's cutting edge stuff. Congratulations. Your boredom is the creator watching you on the edge of its seat. Now, you don't have to continue to live or feel that way. You just have to realize that somehow your perspective is narrow, it's inaccurate. That's why you feel bored, or any negative shade of emotion. So always remember, when you feel bad, you're wrong. Don't even try to prove how you're right. Just accept, do yourself a favor, and those around you especially. If you feel bad, you're wrong. Okay, this is a law of the universe. Here, I declared it. When you feel bad, you are inaccurate in your perspective. You're blind. If you feel bad, you're blind. Deal? This alone could change your life. From victim to ownership and change and empowerment and awakening. This alone would stop dragging you down these downward spirals that make no sense. It's because somehow you think you're right when you feel bad, but you've got it reversed. When you feel bad, you're wrong. This universe is a very simple reward system. It's like how you train a dog. When it does good behavior, you give it a treat, and it's happy. You pet it on its head. Yay! When it shows bad behavior, you are stern, or you do whatever you do. Give him a little bitch slap or something. Not too hard. So there's punishment, so to speak, and there is reward, so to speak. And in other words, how do we experience this? Pain and pleasure, pain and pleasure, pain and pleasure. Physically, we are taught that way. Oh, don't touch the hot fire. It's not good for you. Okay, got it. That hurts. Oh, this feels really good. So that's safe, or at least it feels comfortable. And emotionally, it's the same thing. When you emotionally feel bad, it's because you're wrong. You're doing something wrong. Period. The biggest trap is thinking that somehow you are right when you feel bad. That's righteousness, the wrong kind of righteousness, not the Jesus kind of righteousness of true justice and true balance and true wisdom and true mercy. That's righteousness of the spiritual kind. But the righteousness of I'm a person and I know what this is and I feel bad, but that means I'm right about something. You want to just get that out of your life altogether. Whoop. Throw the baby out too, with the bathwater. I don't care. That whole thing should go. When you feel bad, you're wrong. Agreed? Yes? Can we all agree to that so we can move on with our lives? And let other people move on with theirs? Okay, great. Big step in the direction of love. And freedom. And joy, and empowerment, and the lack of boredom, and all that. The absence of boredom. So again, darling, if you are bored, Sabina, you're not seeing it correctly. Even if you're stating facts. A lot of people will state facts. That's why someone can maybe quote me, or the teachings, or the scriptures, but still not get it, not be enlivened by it, not be lit up by it. It's because they're saying the right things, but the way that they understand it, or the way that they view it, is inaccurate. So they don't gain the same results from the same words as I would get from these words, for instance. Because the understanding, the perspective is lining up with the way that is real. Therefore, you get this reward called bliss or joy or expansion. And if you're thinking down a narrow pathway and you're in the process of distorting what is universally true, you will feel contraction. And then we further personalize that and you get all the different shades of emotions. But really all that emotion is you're wrong. Simple. If you feel bad, you're wrong. Makes it really simple. If you're then willing to be corrected, then there is change. There's the openness to change, which is humility and love, appreciation for the Creator, for Source, for your lifetime, for the people around you. Keep it simple. Okay, so often I am bored. Those feelings make me sad, again, because it's not the correct way of viewing the universe. But I hope that even just through my analogy of this infinite warehouse with these infinite possibilities, and when you zoom down and you just look at one of the pictures in this infinite warehouse, I just realized I never finished that analogy. So again, there's a warehouse filled with infinite possible realities, but you're, as an individuated sense of consciousness, or rather, when this infinite warehouse becomes aware of one of its possibilities, or just one string from up to down, one timeline, you could say. Now, out of that is produced the sense of an individual point of consciousness. And from this point of its infinite awareness, from this point of consciousness, it will now experience that it is somewhere within a universe of infinite possibilities, but that what it's experiencing is just one slice of that within space, time, and the objects and the configurations of all the objects that are present. It will experience, I'm aware of a little slice of the universe, when in truth, you are all these things, and they already exist. But from the point of consciousness, it seems linear. which is what creates that relational experience, which is what gives rise to new cutting-edge experiences. If you were always aware of everything that already exists all at once, how would you learn specific things? How would you grow and evolve in these unique ways? So that's why I say you, as an individuated point of consciousness, you're still the creator, just in microcosmic configuration at the moment. But nonetheless, you are that creator. And you are looking at an illusion. And you are zoomed in on a particular portion of that illusion for a particular purpose, reason, theme of exploring, of learning, of progressing, of growing, and so on. And all of that, everything that you're learning secretly in the background, you don't even realize half the things you're learning. But all of that learning, all of that realization, all of that evolution is always uploaded to that source level of the creator. So it's literally constantly learning through your eyes, through your ears, through your hands, through your feet, through your mind. Now, you might live a very distorted life. The creator will still learn from that. Now, you can also turn that around into a joyful life, and a clear life, and a more conscious life. You don't have to, but it is up to you. I mean, you would benefit from that. You would feel better, for one. And you would accelerate, most likely, you would accelerate upon the evolution of the creator through all of its forms in these consensus kind of matchy points of illusion. Because your vibration is close enough to others, you're sort of sharing a consensus video game. So you can co-create certain lessons and learn from each other and reflect and so on. It's a great illusion. It's very effective at learning. So again, you are the cutting edge. This is brand new. This moment is the newest thing in creation. The universe doesn't expand just physically outwardly. The way the universe truly expands, because remember, all things already exist, so expansion is an illusion too. It's just one of the many possibilities. There's also universes where there is no expansion. There's also universes where there is contraction. There's also universes that are completely different than this. There's infinite. We can't just look out into outer space with our telescopes and say, wow, the universe is so big. That's a nothing. If you could actually perceive to the observable edge of this universe and be mind blown by its size, you've got zero clue as to the true scope of infinite potential. This is nothing. This universe, with its trillions of galaxies, each containing millions or billions of stars, and all the life forms on so many of these planets, and all the stories within just this particular type of universe that we perceive. Now, within that, there's infinite dimensions also. But then the whole thing, as a whole, is not even the universe. That's just one out of infinite variations and options. So, for you to be bored is really just dumb. It just doesn't make sense, with all due respect. But you want to sort of get that through your own head, like, to be bored doesn't make any sense. I must be seeing something incorrectly. That's okay, no judgment. Then you realize, okay, I don't want to hold on to something that makes no sense. So the cutting edge is not where the universe expands to. The cutting edge is relationally. And what is the latest moment in all of creation? It's right now, the way that you relate to hearing my voice. It's sitting in your room. This is the cutting edge. This is where the universe creation is truly at its most expansive right now. You might not feel that way. You may not feel like a super cluster of universes. You may just feel like a physical body with hormonal problems. But that doesn't mean that your consciousness right now, small as it might feel sometimes, isn't the cutting edge of the way that Creator expands upon itself. You are. You're not in the highest dimension of experiencing experiences. And so the shade that you're experiencing is one ridden with limitation. And old age, and little ailments, and little this, and little that, and just very limited five senses, and very limited bandwidth, and very limited ability to be intelligent in terms of smartness or understanding things. But that doesn't mean It's not the cutting edge of where the creator is exploring itself right now. It is. Otherwise, this wouldn't be the moment, the latest moment. You would have a different experience. So the latest, most cutting edge moment in all of timeless existence is always wherever you're at right now, in your own sense of awareness of yourself. And how are you learning? How are you relating to this illusory cosmology? Because you are formless eternity. You are formless bliss. You are unity with all things. And at the end, all of that will be reconciled. That will be, again, reabsorbed back into itself. And all the knowledge that you've gained and that your soul or higher self has kind of stored for you, in a sense, will be completely uploaded into absolute infinite formless source, aka the creator, capital C. So that at the end of your journey as a soul, as an individuated point of awareness, without losing the essence of that individuation, you still are you. You will always be you, even beyond this creation. But all the data that you've gathered on behalf of the creator, capital C, will be uploaded, offloaded, surrendered back to source. And now source has learned everything you have learned, which it takes into consideration when it starts a new iteration. Because all these infinite universes I was just hinting at, all of that is one single creation. And there are cycles of creations with a timeless pause between them. Just like you sleep to assemble what you've learned, to assess what you've learned, and then you wake up again. And there's another round, there's another day of experiences. And then you go to sleep, you take it back into yourself. And then based on everything you've integrated and learned, a new day begins. The same happens with creation. The only thing that never changes, structurally, not relationally. Relationally, there is no end to change. Nothing is ever done. But structurally, the only thing that never leaves is absolute, formless, indescribable, infinite reality beyond even awareness. Even awareness is an appearance, arises out of this indescribable, infinite source that existed before nothing did, and it existed before everything did. It existed before the sense of being, after the sense of being, without the sense of being. It is all permeating. It is impossible to describe because you have zero experience to go on. None of your intuitions, none of your meditations, none of your experiences ever have anything whatsoever to do with absolute reality. It's all been within awareness. The only way to know reality is to transcend awareness. And that's a very difficult thing to do. But suffice it to say that it exists, it is realizable, and that's the only thing that throughout all the creations never leaves. And this is absolutely speaking what that me in you is. What is that me in you? What is your innermost me? If you follow this thread, this trail, subtly, deeply enough, with enough focus, with enough subtlety, you can lead yourself back all the way to the threshold of where awareness is only pure awareness, and where it's clear that all that could ever possibly be is nothing but a perception within awareness. Therefore, everything you've ever known, everything you think you know, everything you base your life off of, everything you even base this present moment off of, it's all based on the illusion within awareness. And then if you go even deeper, you can realize, am I this awareness? Am I pure awareness? That which is the basis of all universes, am I that? And you can realize there is a me before that. There is a me to which even awareness, the supreme awareness, appears. That you is absolute. Absolutely timeless. That is the creator at its absolute source level. And that's where everything returns to at the end of a creation cycle, and where all the data of all the souls, of all the agents, of expression, of infinite possibilities, of all these relationships over, dare I say, hundreds of thousands or millions of lifetimes in a complete cycle of creation gets offloaded to. All that data goes back to source. Source assimilates it mysteriously, impossible to describe how. Infinite intelligence assesses all of that. And then after a timeless amount of time spent in timelessness, all of that free will, all of that soul potential, all of that quote-unquote individuated power and freedom reemerges into another cycle, another video game of absolutely cosmic proportions and beyond. So is everything already existent? Yes. Should you be bored about that? I don't think so. But I suppose you can look at it however you wish, and this will determine how you feel about it. All right, let's move on. This was a cool question though, so I want to spend some more time on it because it kind of lays out a universal view of creation, which everyone can benefit from. When you actually realize internally that your experience right now is the cutting edge of the Creator, it's very difficult to be bored. It's very difficult to think small about yourself and about your life and about what's possible, about how much money you have in your bank account and about how you can't do the things you think you want to do. And even the things you think you want to do are not really necessarily real. It's not necessarily exciting to you. You just think it is because of those limiting views. And when you release all that, you realize I'm the cutting edge. I'm the tip of the spear of infinite existence. This has never been experienced before in the way that I experience it. My free will is the cutting edge right now of the universal expansion. If you see that clearly, it will light you up. You'll feel bigger than you've ever felt before, even with your physical limitations still in place. All right. Elon asks, I have business goals / fitness goals. Does decreeing goals help? Well, first of all, I wouldn't decree a goal. I would decree the fulfilled end result of that goal. So you wouldn't decree, I want to have a successful company and I want to be muscular or fit. You wouldn't decree it in that way. You would decree it as it is already here. I have a successful business. I am powerful, strong, beautiful, aesthetic, muscular, and fit. You would decree it in that way. As a side note, you probably understand that already, but it wasn't so clear from your phrasing. Does decreeing goals help, or just trust it is so? Well, it's the same thing. When you decree something, the whole purpose behind that is to then trust it. So yes, those are two sides to the same coin, you could say. If you don't trust it, I would say it's just an affirmation. It's not a decree. Decree comes with a great surge of will. It's again splitting the ocean of delusion and doubt in your self-concept long enough to insert, to call forth, to say that something is so. Then with absolute faith, you say that it is so, and then you forget about it because you trust it. So why would you need to constantly think about it? Should we hold the vibration of our goal? If you really believe it, then it is held for you. And you can dip down and you can dip up and you can dip down and you can dip up. Now that might affect a little bit like how and when it will show up for you. But proof of your decree, if your decree was truly a decree, will show up. It will guide you there. It might redirect you halfway through. You might realize, hey, it was just meant to get me to this point, but actually now I would like to alter my decree. And then you can alter your decree. But however it unfolds, it will guide you towards your destiny. If you powerfully decree in alignment with your destiny and your highest seeking, It will accelerate your guidance there, even if you dip down into lower vibrations periodically. Now, if you're constantly dipping into low frequencies, then yes, it's going to be difficult for you to receive that guidance, even though it's trying to reach you. So it is valuable to be in a relatively high frequency that is receptive, that is open, that is confident. So if you mean that by should we hold the vibration of our goal, I would say yes, just as part of your general practice anyway. But I think what you mean here is, let's say you've made this decree. Let's say you made it a week ago. Should you now, on sort of a day-to-day basis, should you reconnect to that decree, to the vibration of it, the feeling of that wish fulfilled? And absolutely you can. You just want to watch if you're making it too stressful or not, because then again, it shows you're actually not trusting in your new assumption of reality, what reality is, in your new decree. So when it becomes stressful, like, oh, I should hold on to the vibration of this, otherwise it's not coming to fruition, you have missed the whole concept of what a decree is. A decree is timeless. You have called it into being, therefore it now is so. So if you're then holding on to that frequency in order to get there and make sure that it happens, you have forgotten the biggest faith aspect of this practice, which is, I have decreed it, therefore that particular configuration of reality exists right now in a timeless, in the universe. Again, use the whole picture I just painted for you guys. Everything already exists. If you call upon a particular relational experience, then that means that is called forth. That now exists as part of the infinite possibilities of existence. If you can just rest assured that it exists and you don't try to stress about bringing it into your physical perspective, which is limited anyway, then you'll have a natural sense of trust, a natural sense of confidence, and your assumption will bear fruits in your physical life as well. But not if you're constantly stressed about it. Should we hold the vibration of our goal? Ideally, that naturally happens. When you've decreed something like that with full faith, then you are in that vibration. And so it will speedily make its way into your experience in some way, shape, or form. Or should we just be the I am? If you're truly just the I am, then you're, in a sense, already in the highest vibration anyway. But do you know what I am really is? You see, it's easier to know the frequency of what you have decreed, because that still has a form. But the true I am, although it is much higher in frequency than that particular form, can you truly recognize I am without the words, without the form, without the association of the bodily feeling of being here? Because the physical sense of being here has got absolutely nothing to do with I am. So this whole sense of, oh, I'm becoming present, I'm here. Nope. That's just as valid as a rotting apple on a different planet that you've never met before. It's just as close to the I am as your bodily sense of presence. So do you know the I am? What is I am? Can you look into yourself and awaken to the fact that you exist, not as a body? Don't go to the body. I didn't say anything about the body. You exist, not over there, where the body is. I didn't mention any location. I didn't mention any body. Why are you going to the body? I asked simply, can you see that you exist? Free of form, free of attributes and association. Just the knowingness of me, of I. I exist. It's a formless I. It's a location-free I. It's a bodiless I. It's a mindless I. I as in capital I. It's I am without any notions. It's pure freedom. If you know the I am as that, and you can marinate in that during your day-to-day life, by all means. This is the most powerful, other than the absolute state. But if not, it might be easier to revisit the vibration of your wish fulfilled, because that's more tangible. You are more familiar with that type of experience that has more form to it, more substance, more definition. I am is absolutely without definitions. The only definition of I am is that it is, that you are. That's all. Can you stay so empty and so present at the same time that all that remains is that innermost sense of me existing, aware, ising. Not the body, not the room you're in, not even the universe you're in. Just formless, I, aware existence. If so, then your destiny will naturally flow through you anyway. You don't have to do these exercises so much. Doesn't mean you would never decree something, but that decree would be highly inspired by this formless state of the kingdom of heaven. Just like Jesus was inspired to decree certain things and to heal people in certain ways and to be at certain places at certain times. He was called forth into those forms, but he was never lost in those forms. Supposedly, anyway. That's the theory. Hope this helps. Irmgard Schmidt. I have been searching for my purpose for years. How do I become aware of this purpose? I know nothing has meaning. How can I find a purpose? Good distinction, because meaning doesn't imply purpose, and purpose doesn't need meaning. So I like that starting point. Because when we conflate the two, then our purpose will be drowned in our associations and our biases. And we personalize our calling too much, and we make it about what we think is valuable or important or spiritual or what we need or what we want and so on. But purpose is essentially free from all the human attributions that you've learned over the course of your life, the limitations, the preferences, and so on. So it's a good distinction to make. Excellent. Now, that being said, knowing that things are essentially meaningless and we attribute meaning to them, how can we still connect to our calling, to our purpose? There are several ways. The most tangible or accessible probably is where you just empty your mind for a little bit. You pause everything you've given meaning, and you come into the present moment experience. In other words, just be relatively empty. Be relatively open. Don't hold on to anything you already know. And then ask yourself, simply, why am I here? And you want to avoid trying to make it too specific per se, because that's usually the mind filling in an image. Like, oh, I want to be a king of Scotland. Like, really? Are you sure? Or I want to be the most successful lawyer in the country. Really? Is that why you came to Earth? Maybe. That's the shape your purpose might take. But before your purpose has a shape, it has an intention or a frequency. Usually those very exact ideas are distortions generated by the personal mind. Doesn't mean they're bad, they might even be authentic, and they may even come about. But to really know your calling, you need to deconflate it, you need to be able to separate it from those personal projections and things, and really tune in. Again, that's why you want to be relatively empty here. Be relatively surrendered, so that you can hear a deeper whisper of your actual soul, so that it doesn't have to go through the filters of what you think, what you want, what you believe, what has meaning, what is fearful, and all that. So your fears and desires aside for a moment. Ask yourself plainly, directly, thoroughly, why did I come to Earth? And trust what arises. But see if it can arise in the form of a vibration, in the form of a quality that might start as abstract as love, and then it might get a little bit more specific, as in helping people know that they are love, or being an embodiment of unconditional love no matter the circumstances, or staying true to love, whether people believe it and see it or not. So there can be these nuances that light you up. For instance, Gandhi was all about love, essentially, but the shape that it took for him was a rather antagonistic hero's journey that was for the liberation. It was political also. So it took that shape, but at the heart of it, what was the frequency of it? His calling, his reason for coming to Earth was not necessarily to free the Indian people of their political situation. That is the expression that it took, but that's not enough fuel to go on, because that's a goal, that's a very specific image. What you want to fuel you on a day-to-day basis that you can always connect to. Because Gandhi was for many years in his life, for many situations, I'm sure, I'm confident, where his assessment of his physical reality was not success, it was failure. Or it was opposition, or it was restriction. So what drove him wasn't always the optimism of, hey, I'm going to liberate India. He just knew what he stood for, what was true, what was just, what was fair, what was love-based. And step by step by step by step, over all these years, with plenty of struggle and challenge, he stayed true to the frequency of his calling, the intention, the core essence of his calling, his purpose. Not a specific goal image. That's the human mind. You don't know how it's going to go. And so you cannot always hold on to that. So if nothing has meaning, aka if you pause your personal associations, you become quiet and empty enough to ask your soul, why am I here? And ask that it comes in the form of a quality with some direction, with some nuance that distinguishes it from just the quality of love, for instance. How can that pure quality be manifested in a specific direction? It has a specific quality of courage in some way, shape, or form, or an example, demonstration in some way, shape, or form, helping other people in some way, shape, or form, without getting too specific, but giving some direction to that quality that inspires you, that is unique to your incarnation. Because we're all here for love, so that is true, it's a good starting point. We're all here for love, ultimately. But uniquely, in what way does that light you up? But it can also, another word can come to you, another quality. It doesn't have to be love. It could be power, in a beautiful way, power. Could be to demonstrate, to awaken people to the power within them, to the power of Source, the power of God, the power of the Creator, or the infinite possibilities. It's still a form of love, sharing love, but it will come in a specific type of frequency. So your calling is a state of mind, in a sense. It's a vibration. And then that has expressions, and that will unfold as your life unfolds. But the core here is to find that purpose as a frequency. Another way to find it is to ask yourself, what lights me up the most about all the movies I've ever watched that I really deeply enjoyed? All the movies that really touched a soft spot, or a strong spot, maybe, like a core vibration in me that inspired me. What was the common denominator there? Or what were some of those elements? Remember some of the scenes that really touched you. And try to avoid the rom-coms because, or the romantic movies. They may not give you the right direction for your purpose. They might be a little deceiving. Oh, it felt so good when you finally kissed her. That's not your calling, bitch. So maybe stick to sci-fi movies or epic fantasy movies or something like that, you know? And pick an inspiring moment that really touched you deeper than just validating your personal needs and wants. What really lit you up? What was just such a beautiful testament of generosity, of courage, of selflessness, of heroism? You know, things like that. Epicness. And what moments in your own life so far have lit you up the most about you? When were you truly, spiritually speaking, the proudest of yourself? Maybe it was when you let your partner sleep with somebody else because that felt relevant for them. When you had feared this for all of your life. Maybe it was releasing someone's loan to you or something you held against them and you forgave that, despite the odds. Even though nobody in your retarded friend circle of normal people with low standards for spirituality would think you're crazy, you still forgave them. No, but you are right. You should never forgive them. You forgave them anyway. You chose love anyway. You chose generosity anyway. Moments like that in your life where you're truly proud of yourself. What did you tap into? What was the courage that got you to shift enough to release even your own fears? Qualities like those that are self-transcendental, that inspire you deeply about a movie or a story or a novel. Those kinds of qualities. Start sort of writing them down and come to a clearer, concise description of what is that vibrational coordinate? How would I describe that? Why am I here? I hope that helps. Good luck, Irmgard. Cool. Marcus asks, does reaching the absolute fix all your problems? Or do you still need to do all the emotional/causal body work after? Depends. What do you mean by reaching the absolute? Some people have an intuitive awakening to the absolute. Let's say I guide a meditation on this. You could have a glimpse of it, a sense of it, like, oh, wow, I never realized that there is a reality that's beyond all forms of awareness, consciousness, and experience altogether. That's even beyond the I am sense. And that might sort of activate an awakening where it expands your view of what enlightenment, where enlightenment can go, essentially. That would be an intuitive awakening or sensing or glimpsing of absolute reality. Then there is what I call penetrating absolute reality, which means you take that contemplation with such a one-pointedness of will and intent that you truly begin to penetrate that layer of awareness, that primal illusion of I amness, which is the very membrane of the entire matrix of creation. And now this intuition will deepen or broaden, and there is a true sense of, like there's this massive expansiveness beyond the universe. That's not the universe. The universe is ultimately made of that, but the thing itself is vaster than that. It's more formless than that. It's just another level. It's a higher level of that intuition. Keep following that intuition, and you can actually penetrate and get a true glimpse of that state. Then there is what I call an exclusive realization of the absolute, which is that penetration taken to a point where, in a sense, it sucks you out of this universe. It's kind of the sensation. It's like you've entered into a black hole and you're now looking at creation from beyond creation. So you are absolute reality. Where the entirety of creation turns into this minuscule speck of light. And there's nothing but indescribable, infinite perfection that absolutely blows your mind. And it feels like in that instant, tens of thousands of lifetimes of trauma are gone, absolutely healed in an instant. This is rare, but it's possible. But there's a level beyond that which I haven't chosen yet, which is where you stay as that. And you never pop yourself back down into any vehicle within creation. If you stay there, then hypothetically, I mean, I can't fully speak to this because I try to limit what I say based on my direct experience. I don't want to speculate too much, but based on what I sense and know and what I have seen, this absolutely, it doesn't just fix your problems, it renders them completely non-existent and they never existed in the first place. This already happens when you have an intuitive sense of it, and it definitely happens when you have an exclusive pop-out non-experience of going beyond all experiences and seeing as infinite reality sees, which is beyond awareness as you know it. It's different. It's a different type of awareness. It's infinite perfection comprehending itself completely without duality. There are no problems there. In fact, nothing ever existed. You realize one of the main realizations that is instantly apparent to you is that none of this is real, never has been real. And if you deeply, deeply feel and see and know, and not physically, even beyond all that, you just know, you've realized that nothing ever happened, then obviously you have no problems. Your problems never happened. It's one giant fucking joke. It's a form of entertainment that doesn't exist. Never existed. It never happened. None of your lifetimes ever happened. None of your trauma ever happened. None of your spiritual journey. This moment, it's not happening. This is one big giant joke. There's absolutely zero substance to the universe whatsoever. It does not exist. Only you do. Only absolute reality is real, and it cannot be described by any means within awareness, because awareness is part of the illusion. It's the first illusion that produces experience, that enables experience. There's no experience that can ever be used as a symbol for absolute reality. You've got nothing to go on. This is completely different from any spiritual realization you've ever had before, from any expansive state of, oh my God, wow, I'm awake. Nope, you're still asleep. Compared to absolute reality, even the awakened state is more like lucid dreaming than truly waking up from the dream. But penetrating absolute reality is like awakening from the dream. And what happens when you wake up from a dream? It's gone and it never really happened. You're in a completely different frame of reality. You cannot describe that to the people in your sleep. That's why that's called reality, and everything else is an illusion. Doesn't mean it's not valid, it's serving a purpose. But it's never really happened. Like there's no substance to it, it's not real. I've not stayed in that exclusive pop-out state, but I've had an exclusive realization a handful of times over the years. The intuition of it is always active and strong. So sometimes I describe it as, for me, you know how the sun is kind of always in the sky? Let's say it's 24/7. That kind of represents awareness. For me, it's kind of like there's a black hole that's always in the sky of my awareness. And I can look at it or I cannot look at it, but either way, I feel its effects. When you're walking on a hot summer's day, you feel the sun. You don't have to look at the sun, right? That's kind of the idea of awareness, the level of awareness, the seventh density God state, that love light awareness, that presence of the pure I am. You can feel that as all the time present. Right now it's hearing my voice without you even trying. It's always here. The more acquainted you get with that, the more natural and automatic, and the more convinced you are of it, the more it will shine through. And it's like the sun is always shining upon you. Even when you're not resting as awareness looking directly at it, you can live your life and you will still feel the warmth of that presence. A lot of you guys have some experience with this. But when you penetrate the absolute sufficiently enough, then it's like there is a black hole in the sky right next to the sun, or actually right within the sun. It's right beyond and within the sun. But it's kind of like the sun is replaced by this black hole. And now you feel the effects of the non-reality of all of this, among other science, symbols, experiences, effects, benefits, and so on. So, do you still need to do all the emotional causal body work? It depends. It's on a case-by-case basis. It depends how profound was your realization of the absolute, with how much of yourself, for lack of a better word, stayed there, and how much of it was just a glimpse and now you're back in this identity. Has your identity been perforated, your sense of identity? In my case, it has been. So, but it doesn't necessarily mean I never do any emotional causal work or observations. I do. So on a relative level, I am not perfected, so to speak. There is the occasional thing to investigate, to look deeper into. Now, a lot of this is sparked because of my full dedication to service to others and this natural sort of mirroring that happens. So the vast majority of my emotions and thoughts and feelings and all that have to do with other people. So, but even in that, I'm doing emotional causal work, although most of that is geared towards service to others, which is the main reason I came back here. The thought that pulled me back in usually is something along the lines of, and one time it was this literally, it was, and it's not really a thought because you're not thinking in the absolute, in the conventional sense, but the observation that I sort of had at the threshold that pulled me back at least once was, this is unfair to everybody else. It's so different. It's so infinitely, unimaginably different that I realized everything I had been teaching up to that point, I might as well throw in the trash bin. When it comes to reality, I realized I'm not teaching people about reality. And I cannot teach people about reality. And they will never, ever, ever understand. That's kind of the perception that I had. Because it's so different. It requires such a different understanding. And that sense kind of, among other senses, but that kind of pulled me back into a renewed vigor. Like, it's unfair. Like, I want to help other people gain access to this, or at least step up on the ladder so that they can be primed towards this ultimately. So as a result, I'm still here. And I do have an emotional body. I do have a causal body. I do have a mental body. Now, they might be more transparent than most people's, and they may have this black hole that sort of shines through these levels. But I still do that kind of work. I still interact with that. But if by reaching the absolute, does it fix all your problems? Yes. First of all, when you penetrate the absolute, it fixes all your problems. But then if you're back here long enough, you might recreate some new ones. But if you stay in the absolute, there will not be any work left for you. But then it's likely that you would depart physically as well. Elon asks, eczema, because of a separation conflict, can it be healed, deconstructed, by being the I am and seeing it for what it is? Can you talk more about healing this kind of stuff? Can it be healed / deconstructed by being the I am? Well, you already are the I am, but I get what you're saying. Recognizing the I am and seeing it. I'm assuming you mean the separation and the eczema for what it is. Can you talk more about healing this kind of stuff? Well, that would be the foundation for anything, is to connect to the I am, first of all. To purify that, first of all. I mean, that's going to resolve, essentially, ultimately, all of your issues, wobbles, distortions. And it's going to give you insight into symptomology of your life. How are things symbolically showing up in your body and your environment as a symbol of your wobbles or misinterpretations of life or misinterpretations of your calling, why you are here, or not acting on it, or something like that. So all these can be vibrational causes for these kinds of things. But the reason, for instance, that I rarely go up to someone with full confidence and go and heal them is because the way I see it is that their illness is their process of healing. Their limitation or their problem is how their soul is healing itself. Because the illness begs for attention, it begs for a difference, it begs for awareness. If I take away that symptom, I might heal the body. Or if they take away that symptom without the assistance of a healer, because we're all healers, essentially. So if they have the faith to heal their body, but they haven't learned the lesson from why that was there in the first place, they are healing their body, but they're postponing the healing of their soul, the balancing and the evolution of their soul. So when someone has a symptom, my first response is not to heal that, but it is to be humble about it. I would encourage them to wonder, what does this represent for me? How is this trying to guide me in a new direction, in a new way of thinking or seeing? What is this? Is this a reflection of a negative pattern that I have, that it's time to let go of, because it's holding me back from what I'm truly here to be? It's holding on to an imbalance of the soul by being insistent as a personality. Because to me, a symptom showing up in someone's life, including my own from time to time, has some symbolic significance. It is some pointer, it's not random. Doesn't mean I don't take the practical approach to also solving it at the same time, but the more important aspect here is to wonder why. To find out what is it telling you. That way you're actually healing the soul through the symptom. Removing the symptom isn't always the best thing to do. In fact, it rarely is the best thing to do. So that would be my first recommendation here. As a practical thing, I recommend the carnivore diet for almost any physical ailment that you have. Cut out carbs and plants and sugary fruits, none of which existed a few thousand years ago. They're all man-made, by the way. Every fruit and vegetable you buy in the grocery store has been genetically modified or hybridized or unnaturally selected over many, many, many generations. They're much more filled with sugar these days. The sugar overload we get through carbs and all the plant toxins, the defense chemicals in those plants are compounding over the years, and they produce, in my opinion, most of our diseases, which are actually toxicologies. They're not diseases for the most part. So most of these things and symptoms are reversible by diet and sometimes by periods of fasting as well, but that's not as sustainable. That should be more very periodic, a couple times a year, maybe something like that. Can be more a little bit, but can be less also. But a consistent dietary change, especially if you want to do it therapeutically for a while, I would recommend for most people, almost everyone, probably everyone, to go as purely carnivore as you can go. So I think your eczema will clear up just by that approach alone, and you will gain a new relationship with yourself in the process of changing that diet as well. So you may not like the suggestion, or maybe you do, but that would be my practical physical analogy for loving yourself and taking it to the next level in terms of your relationship to yourself and your body. If you don't want to go that route, that's perfectly fine. Only do it if it truly resonates and excites you. Or if you feel there's truth behind this, even though you resist it, then look a little bit more into it until maybe you are excited about it. So yes, all these things have a vibrational cause, but if you see how many of these things are caused by our diets, then yeah, you could ask yourself, why do I have diabetes? And why do I have this? And why do I have that? And why do I have this? And why? Well, because you don't eat well. Okay? And that is a reflection of your lack of self-love and your lack of self-care and interest to really investigate what is an appropriate diet for you? What am I putting in my body every day? That should be an act of self-care and self-love. If not, then yes, the vibrational cause for all these little compounding symptoms and diseases and toxicologies is a lack of self-love. It's the vibrational cause. The physical cause is that you eat whatever the fuck you feel like eating in that moment and however often. And putting in your body negligently things that you should not be putting in your body. And a lot of it has been propaganda. And you're eating a lot of things you think are healthy, which are not healthy. But if you truly love yourself, you would do due diligence. You would not trust the medical system, at least not outright. You would be discerning and skeptical and find out what is actually a proper, appropriate human diet for you, but also just for your species, for your body, how it evolved. So, that's one approach. Kind of a almost heal everything physically approach. And there's going to be a process involved vibrationally, inevitably. Anytime you change your diet, you're going to be confronted with yourself. So you can go from the inside out. You can go directly to the vibrational causes of things. And then that will express itself almost always as a change in what you're doing, what you're eating, how you're living, what you're attracting to yourself, and so on. And or you can also do it from the outside in, because they're very closely connected. So for instance, if you're going on a fast or you're changing your diet, that's a significant enough physical change in your lifestyle and all that to where you're going to be confronted with whatever comes up in response to that. Like what's going to come up for you if you cut out all sugar, for instance? I guarantee you stuff's going to come up for you. Now, so you just take that deeper and you take that through a vibrational level of self-healing, self-love, self-understanding, self-awareness, through the permission slip of changing your diet to something that's more species appropriate, that's not as naive, that doesn't buy all the plastic in the supermarket, which includes, for the most part, fruits and veggies. My opinion, you don't have to believe that. But do your own research, find something that really resonates for you, and do that with self-care, do that with self-love. Diet is a big thing for all these sort of little physical symptoms that we have, that you don't associate with diet usually, but a lot of it does come from that, which comes from the vibration of not loving yourself completely, not being aware of yourself completely, not mastering yourself completely, outsourcing, being a victim, believing in the lies, being naive. All these vibrational wobbles will express itself in what you put in your mouth. And obviously, that goes for what you drink. It also goes for your lifestyle, where you live. Do you live in a dense urban city with 50 stories above you, 50 stories below you, 50 stories to your right, to your left, diagonally, all directions, and everyone has 2 Wi-Fi stations? And when you open your phone and you open your Wi-Fi, you see a list of about 1,000 different channels for you to connect to within a circle radius of 20 meters. And if you then start complaining about your symptoms, then you're fooling yourself. You should go out, live in nature as much as you can. You should live as organically, as naturally as you possibly can, close to nature. You should eat close to nature. For millions of years, our species have been hunters. Gatherers occasionally, when relevant, or to stock up on fat stores for the winter by carving up a little bit, seasonal fruits in the summer, carries us over into the winter. Things like that, but predominantly proteins and fats. That's what we're made of. There's not a single essential gram of carb that we need. We could survive with a single gram of carb ever. Try that with fat and proteins, doesn't work. So go back to the actual human diet, not this propaganda, grocery stores, advertisements, The pyramid scheme of the food pyramid, all that stuff, it's all bought out. It's all fucking to get you sick, disempowered. Then you go to your doctor. They're not doing the research. They're just following the guidelines. Based on the guidelines, this is what you should eat. Diabetes, sure, you can continue to eat carbs, which turn into sugar, and by all means, continue that stuff. And so on and so forth. So you buy more pills, and you get more sick. You become more useless. And you're just a living battery pack for those that make the money. Or you can do your research, use your common sense. What am I? I assume I'm a person in a modern world. When I see all these ads and this technology and all this packaged food, I start to assume that's normal. It's not normal. It's not normal at all. What am I really? What are you as a physical creature? Physiologically. What's truly natural for you? To eat things that never existed 5,000 years ago? How many berries can you eat when you get lost in the forest? How many broccolis do you find in the wild? Have you ever seen a broccoli grow in the wild? Broccoli is healthy for you. It didn't exist 1,000 years ago. It was some other kind of plant. But every animal you see, you can eat. Pretty much. Maybe a few poisonous frogs that you shouldn't eat. But other than some of those amphibians and reptiles, you can pretty much eat anything that walks around. Because that's how we've evolved physiologically, genetically. So, think along those lines. Do your own research. But the essence of this, I would say, choose a diet that's loving of yourself. You can do this gradually, and in fact, I would recommend you do this gradually, and see what arises for you in that process. Emotionally, energetically, spiritually, see it as a cleansing, a self-cleansing, a self-mastery, taking the reins back into your own hands. Freeing yourself from the matrix physically also. Not living to someone else's dictates or guidelines. Use common sense, tune in, be natural, and give yourself the love and nourishment that you deserve. You say eczema because of separation conflict. It's possible. I mean, the skin does represent the borderline between self and other self, or self and the world. So it can represent a lot of our issues of duality or separation. Usually with eczema or sort of allergies, I would advise the seeker to investigate what are they resisting, what do they have a strong bias towards, or against, really. So usually any type of skin issue, most types of skin issues, and also allergies, like the question would be, what are you being allergic to vibrationally, conceptually? What are you resisting? What are you not trying to see? What do you not want to let into your life? What do you not want to accept as pure and whole and acceptable? Either within yourself, or if it's a skin issue or an allergy, then it's usually towards the world. You're afraid that something will enter your system. You're seeing it from a separatist, dualistic point of view. So what are you resisting? It can also be something else. I'm not saying it's always this. It could be guidance for you to live in a certain way and not in another way. It can be a signal for you to remind you of who you truly are in a variety of ways. But generally speaking, eczema, I see eczema almost as a sort of an allergy. So anything along those lines, skin-related and allergies, what are you resisting? And skin specifically, what are you resisting from outside yourself? Where's your fear, where's your threshold between self and others, between self and the world? And where are you scared, where are you afraid of expanding that skin line, of expanding your circle of awareness and your heart and your calling and your passion? Are you holding back within your skin? Are you becoming a stinky little pond inside your skin? Or are you breathing? Is your skin breathing? Is there permeability between self and what you're here to express to the world? Are you expressing yourself? Or are you holding back? You get these skin rashes. Are you suppressing something? So that would be my general sort of vibrational direction. And I hope this helps, except I can be a bitch. So lots of healing to you. And look into the food thing as well, might also assist you. David, could you explain the mechanics as to why just being with our feelings and emotions can cause changes in the causal body? Well, first of all, it's all connected. So if you're aware enough of something that's physically happening, you will inevitably become aware of what's subtly happening that's related to that physical happening. For instance, you can observe a physical situation that you don't like, and you'll become aware of the fact that you don't like it, which is an emotional response to the physical situation. So then you become aware, but then when you're aware of the feeling of, oh, I don't like this situation, this physical circumstance that I have a subtle feeling about, and why do I not like this feeling? Or sorry, why do I not like this situation? Why do I feel bad? And then if you stay aware with that feeling or the emotion, then you will very quickly gain insight into what perspective is causing this emotional ripple into my emotional body, or subtle body. So it's all connected. So the key here really is not so much what are you aware of, it's are you aware, period. Awareness will guide you very quickly, deeper and deeper, higher and higher, subtler and subtler, but you got to activate that awareness. More so than what you're choosing to be aware of, what level are you investigating. That's why meditation is not that complicated. Just start by being aware. Oh, what should I meditate on today? Should I do this approach or that approach? Doesn't matter, just be aware. Start with just being aware. Being aware of the fact that you're aware, start clarifying that, start amplifying that, and then certain objects will pass through your screen of consciousness. A physical sensation, then just be aware that you're aware of the physical sensation. There may be a thought or a concept or an idea or an inspiration or a realization. Then just be aware of the fact that you're aware of that realization. And as you just do this naturally, the more you plug into awareness and compound it upon itself, it compounds in its clarity, its precision, and it develops this fire-like, this fierce sword-like quality of being able to naturally, peacefully, lovingly. It's not aggressive in any way. It's just super sharp. And it cuts through the mist of your thoughts, your delusions, your distractions, simply by having upped your awareness of awareness. Upped your awareness of awareness. Up your awareness of awareness. Up your awareness of awareness. That's simple. Start like that and you'll end like that. And it will guide you through whatever you need to see, whatever you're ready to see in that particular meditation or that time in your life, whatever needs to be addressed or whatever needs to be let go of, that will happen in the process of just raising your awareness. Because it will also raise your frequency, and then you see everything that doesn't fit in with that higher frequency. It will stand out like a sore thumb. What previously seemed like it was part of your light now turns out to be casting a shadow because your light has increased. It's now casting a shadow. You can now identify, what is this idea? Why am I bumping up against this? So just keep maintaining an awareness. Without awareness, you can't meditate, no matter what object of concentration you choose. So start with the basics and you'll end with the basics, and it takes you all the way. Awareness. Meditation is being aware. Ideally being aware of being aware, more and more. Could you explain the mechanics as to why just being with our feelings and emotions can cause changes in the causal body? So when you then are aware of a feeling, and you stay aware of it, you don't just indulge the story, you don't get lost in what it means and the descriptions, but you actually stay aware of being aware of the feeling. Stay aware of being aware of the feeling. You're just being with the feeling, but you never lose that awareness. When you do that, it's like the light of the sun just hitting the dew on the blades of grass in the morning, or hitting a flimsy little cloud and just evaporates it. So the light of that awareness will absolutely cause changes in your causal body, especially if you take that awareness to that subtler level of your feelings and then your beliefs and core sort of ideas or perspectives that generated those feelings to begin with. And so healing is a very natural process, just like meditation is a very natural process. But you do need to activate awareness. Thank you, David. Srihari, if everything is a reflection of myself, is there anything that truly infringes upon others' free will other than physical violence? Yes, there is. Because you can commit physical violence, but you can also commit subtle violence and even, in a sense, causal violence. So, what is infringing upon others' free will? Look, we do this all the time without realizing we do it. In subtle ways, our gremlins have become manipulative. We don't even realize we're doing that. And that is forgivable because you don't know any better. And we all chose to come to planet Earth where nobody knows very well and sees very clearly. So we all signed up for this. So you've abused plenty of people in your life, don't worry. You're not free of infringing on people's free will. Sometimes in overt and dramatic ways, but usually only in subtle ways. You have manipulated, you have infringed upon people's free will plenty of times in your life, without knowing it for the most part. The times you did realize it, or perhaps where you really kind of crossed the line, you were taken aback and you at some point realized it, you felt maybe guilty or sorry, you wanted repentance, you wanted to apologize, hopefully you did that. And or if not, at least you forgave yourself and them and you did a little inner ceremony for that situation. So those moments you'll remember, they'll ping you. But there's lots of subtle moments, subtle ways of infringing upon the free will of others that we don't realize we're doing. And they're not as grave of an incursion into their free will, usually. But they are infringements upon free will. But then again, we all in the collective agree that that's okay. It's okay to be a little messy with each other. We know we're in the mud. We know we're not going to be perfectly respectful of each other's free will. So we kind of, out of our free will, chose a muddy place. We chose the mess, and therefore getting infringed upon a little bit is ultimately still part of the free will. Doesn't mean you should go make incursions into free will or be oblivious to it, because that's not good for you. It's not good for your alignment. It's not good for your evolution. Trust me, you don't want that. Beyond your current life, that's going to haunt you as well. So do your best. This is most important, is do your best. What you don't know any better about, you're exempt from. You're not responsible for quite as much. You are still responsible for it, but not quite as much. The consequences are not as severe. Karma, if you will, sort of the concept of karma. However, once you know better and you don't act better, now the consequences will incrementally become more severe. The more you know you shouldn't do something, but you still do it, so to speak, to put it very plainly and simply, it's more complex than that, but essentially, the law of responsibility kicks in to its next gear once you know better. This is why ignorance is bliss. Because if you don't know any better, you can get away with a lot more. But once you know, you got to act according to what you know, otherwise you're sacrificing your honor. A 5-year-old kid cannot be expected to know exactly how to behave appropriately at a funeral or in certain situations or whatever. So they are forgiven. Right? But if you go walking around naked on a funeral and singing happy songs, is it going to be held accountable? You're going to be held accountable for that because you know better. Again, simplistic analogy, but just to get the idea across, what is the law of responsibility? It's a scale, and the more you know, the better you should act. The more you know, the more your honor is at stake. But also the more evolved you are becoming spiritually. The more advanced, the more powerful, the more wise, the more loving, the more blissful. But the more powerful you become spiritually, the clearer you become spiritually, the more responsible you become as well. For your choices, your actions, where you're coming from, and all that. So if everything is a reflection of myself, is there anything that truly infringes upon others' free will? I get what you mean by this, more in sort of a philosophical sense of, okay, well, if this is all a reflection of me, then there's no really not any others. So is there then anything that truly infringes upon others' free will? Well, others is self. So the infringement upon others' free will ultimately is the infringement upon your own. So even if all this is a reflection of you, you still shouldn't infringe upon your own free will. It's just not conducive. I mean, if you want to bear the consequences of that, go ahead. But even from a selfish point of view, I highly recommend you guys to try to really honor free will to the best of your ability. And this just gets subtler and subtler. And I don't feel I have time in this session to fully lay out the nuances of what free will is and how infringement kind of happens at the subtler levels and how to avoid that or be aware of it. It might be an interesting topic, but it's rather advanced and nuanced and subtle. So I won't go further into that right now. But suffice it to say that yes, there is some things that truly infringe upon others' free will besides just physical violence. So it's more than that.
Massaro University is a vibrant online community dedicated to accelerating your awakening and activating your purpose for the benefit of all. Join live sessions with Bentinho and workshops led by experienced facilitators. Deepen your wisdom, empowerment, and self-knowledge, and experience life-changing shifts week after week. At Massaro University, finding like-hearted seekers is easy and inevitable. Lifelong friendships and a shared purpose fuel profound personal and collective growth. Create your free account today at massaro.university and step into a community that's designed to elevate every aspect of your life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. All right, beautiful question by Alexandra. How to hold on to the lesson my higher self is giving me again and again. How not to fall back again to the human egoic self throughout everyday life. Well, isn't this the question on the spiritual path? In different ways, shapes, or form, we can ask ourselves this. First of all, if we need to receive the same lesson again and again, and I understand you already got that as I get it from your question, but if our higher selves have to teach us the same lesson again and again, then clearly we never learned it, right? So there's a distinction here to be made between being aware of the lesson that our higher self is giving us versus actually learning the lesson that our higher selves is giving us. Because often in sort of the spiritual New Age circles, we're tempted to quickly contextualize, oh, this is just what my higher self wants me to learn. Like, oh, okay, I get it. But like, do you really get it? Because a lesson that you need to keep learning means that you never really learned it. If you need to memorize it, that means you're not in the state. Because lessons from higher self are all about shifting your state. They're not just about remembering data or something. They're always about who you are. What's your self-concept? What do you believe? Where are you vibrating at right now? What's the attitude, the focus that you have in life? Have you changed your understanding of life, therefore your state? Have you made a state change? All that your higher self is interested in is that you pay attention, so it sends you some catalyst. This is what we call, higher self wants me to learn a lesson, which is a good start. But then it's not just about kind of knowing what that lesson is or kind of knowing that you received a lesson and just pausing what you're doing for 20 minutes. It's about actually understanding what is that lesson pointing to. And then just know that you haven't actually learned from that lesson if you haven't made the state change that that lesson intends to facilitate for you. So if a particular signal that you're getting from your higher self in the form of a challenge, a pattern, a theme, a limitation, a lesson then it means you've not learned that lesson. Maybe you've learned a little bit about it. Maybe you've gotten closer to learning that lesson, but learning the lesson means state change, a change in identity. What does higher self want when it's teaching you a lesson? State change. Change in identity. And that's the one thing we don't like to do. We love learning lessons, we just don't want to change our identity. Although I guess it's getting more popular nowadays, since you can be anything now. But you get the idea. There's a difference between knowing what your higher self is kind of asking of you and pretending that you're listening. Okay, yeah, no, I got it. Versus like, are you actually changing yourself at a fundamental, constitutional, self-concept, life concept level? If not, expect the same lesson to cycle back around and back around and back around. My friends, I will close this session with some more silence and radiance of just exactly what we talked about. And this is a perfect segue into connecting to that state. It's not a state, it's a living principle. Call it whatever you will, I don't care. But you know what I'm pointing to. Your connection to wholeness, to allness. It's the supreme intelligence, the father of all that is, or the mother of all that is, it doesn't matter. View it as you want, whatever works for you. But see if you can visualize your personal life in your left hand, with all the wants and the points of view and the perspectives and the rights and the wrongs and the this and the that and the me and the them. And I want this because of that, and I have a preference for this because of this. And I'm right in this. These are pure principles, so these are pure ones. I really want this for myself. Have this in your left hand. And visualize it like a stinky, cloudy, little smelly, selfish little sphere. That's on this side of the scale. That's your sense of self, your limited sense of self. It's got nothing to do with yourself, but that is the conditioning. That's the fear-based entity that seeks in all the wrong places, against its better knowing. And that becomes blind to its guidance, and it becomes overly complicated and maze-like. Picture this in your left hand. And then in your right hand, picture this bright, radiant orb that represents you and your complete enlightenment, in your wholeness, in your shiny, brilliant radiance, self-fulfilled completely. Not because you're a strong, independent man or woman, but because you're connecting to a state of reality beyond the dualities, beyond being a man or a woman, beyond being a person with needs. You're connecting to God. You're being grateful and in connection, in sync with the true nature of all that is. And see how bright it is. And then look to your left and see how stinky and muddy and brown it is. And then look to your right and see how bright it is, how radiant, how powerful. And then when you're ready, you drop that dirty little sphere out of your left hand. You just drop it. You say, no more selfishness for me. No more righteousness for me. No more insistence upon what I think I know. That comes with suffering and stench. And you look at this bright, radiant orb in your right hand, and you push it into your heart. And you become that version of you. You become that fully enlightened, ascended mind, body, spirit vessel for the Creator's perfect, non-dual love, seeing the unity in all, and the liberation of the perception of need and vulnerability and lack, and all that disappears. And it's replaced by an illumination that is so palpably rich and dense with infinite resources, skillfulness, love, and the power of love, the true power of love. And this pure white light is what your entire body has now become. This is the version of you that you choose. With this unity in mind, let us rest into this silence, into this presence, into this brightness. Let it overtake you, overwhelm you, outshine you, make you forget all the things about you that don't work. Let the simplicity of God shine through. Enjoy that bliss of the formless self of all beings, where you are already complete and they are already complete. And all you're radiating is the confirmation of that completeness to yourself and to others. And notice the purity that you can feel in that emptiness. Like you're humble again, humble in the most powerful way, in the most supported possible way, but humble nonetheless. Feel the pain of righteousness in contrast to this, of thinking you know something about someone else or even about yourself, where you're trying to think about your life and plan your life without God as your sole guide. In contrast to this light, notice that painfulness, that distortion, how it's hurting those around you as well, unnecessarily so. And from this light, it seems easy to just drop that. From this silence, there is a purity naturally available. Be the light. Be free. Be non-dual. Be like God. Be you. Not the other self. Be you. Not the person. Be you. Live in the kingdom of heaven now. Let the sun rise within yourself, outshining everything, every concern, every limiting idea. Let it be outshone. Let it be silenced by this joyful light, this sun that keeps rising inside of you. Higher and higher in the sky of your environment, in the sky of your reality. Undeniably bright, life-giving, abundant, rich, safe. Safe because it's whole. Complete because it's whole. Perfect because it's one with all that is. Take a deep breath. Know this is you. All the other stuff is false. Let it go. Surrender to God. That's all that this means. Surrender to the true you. Rise with that sun. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this Bentinho live session. Bentinho now hosts these transformative live sessions completely free, offering profound insights and guidance to support your journey. To attend the next live session with Bentinho, simply visit massaro.university and follow the instructions to create your free account.